I started having the craziest symptoms. I couldn't move my fingers. I had extreme bouts of vertigo. Couldn't even go from my couch to the fridge to get water without falling over. My family was thinking, these are symptoms of like dementia and Alzheimer's.
What does brainwash mean?
You go to the store and the branding on the package makes it look super eco-friendly and natural. You turn it around and read the ingredients. It's not as natural as they're claiming. I'd say within 2 days of using my own handmade soap, my skin inflammation went down. I stopped having hives. If I could give anyone advice in their life, chronic stress is not worth it. No job is worth it. No paycheck is worth it. If you are every day in a job you hate or a lifestyle you can't stand, and your very being is like crying out, please get me out of here, I don't want to be here, leave.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing great. Can you let the people know what you do? Well, first who you are and then what you do, I guess.
Sure. So my name's Caitlin Hoover. I am the owner of Healing Moon Farm and Soapery. Actually co-owner. My husband helps me run the business as well. And we are a small organic farm and natural soapery dedicated to eco-friendly products.
Okay. Do you only do soaps?
No, we do a little bit of everything. So we do handmade soaps, we do laundry powder, beeswax candles, essential oil blends, shampoo conditioner bars. I mean, pretty much anything you need for a natural, non-toxic home and body care product. We make it.
And I'm guessing because you're branded as Healing Moon Farm and Soapery that you started with soaps?
No, we actually started out as a small homestead. And it kind of expanded from there. I started developing all kinds of allergies to everything at the store. And the more I looked into the ingredients in the shelves at the grocery store, the more I started to realize, and this can sound super crunchy, I was like, man, everything's poison. I don't want this. And I really just started kind of eliminating and detoxing my lifestyle. And as part of that, I began making my own products because at the time I didn't trust anyone else to make things and sell them mass manufactured wise that were going to be safe for me. As I've grown more educated about ingredients, I feel a little better about certain brands and I'm more willing to buy them. But at the time, I just said, I'm not trusting anyone. I'm making everything from scratch in my kitchen.
Okay, so you said that what you begin to notice is like how toxic some of the other products were. Can you dive into that a little bit more? Like what's in some of these things that, I don't know, we use around our homes and have no idea about?
Yeah, so there are a lot of hidden toxins in mass manufactured products. And I don't want this to sound like I'm speaking poorly of other products, so please don't take it that way. There are some great brands out there that do great things and use awesome ingredients. But there are also a lot of brands, and typically they're owned by like Johnson & Johnson or P&G. And if you go to Walmart or these stores and you look at the shelves, even though everything's branded different, the mass majority of the things are all owned by the same company. And when you start to really delve into the ingredients, there's a lot of petroleum-based products. There's a lot of phthalates. I always say that wrong. Phthalates and carcinogens and known toxins that we're very aware are toxins, but are put into these products because nothing really has to be reviewed by the FDA to hit the shelves. And what happens is sometimes these toxins make their way into products unintentionally. So like 1,4-dioxane and formaldehyde, you might find that in a mass manufactured soap and not even know it because it's not on the ingredients label. And sometimes that's a byproduct of the manufacturing process with these synthetic lathering detergents, and it can come and slip in there and you don't even realize you're putting formaldehyde on your skin.
So it's indirect, right?
A lot of it's indirect and some of it is direct. Some brands like simply just don't care. They're looking for the profit and they're like, throw whatever makes it bubbly and smell good and who cares what's in it. And that's just not the way to go. It's bad for people.
So do you know what some of the effects of some of these like toxicities are that kind of affect our body? Like what are some of the effects on our body?
Yeah, so each one's a little different. But a lot of the carcinogens are like known toxins that can cause issues with lead to cancers, liver and kidney dysfunction, lung damage. Believe it or not, some of the phthalates in certain synthetic fragrances can cause inflammation in the lungs. And a lot of this is really well documented and studied. If anyone's interested in it, just go to PubMed and look at some medical journals that have been published. There's a ton of research, especially in the last 10, 20 years, that has come out about these toxins.
Interesting. Okay, and so going back a little bit, you said that you kind of had something come up in your life that kind of made you start looking into these products a little bit more. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so my journey is not very linear. So I'm going to bounce around a little bit.
Okay, no problem.
But it kind of started out back in 2018. At that time, my husband and I were living in Washington, D.C., and we were working really high-stress jobs. And we thought, this is what you do. You get out of college, you work your butt off, you go out here, you grind, you live on rice and beans, and that's just life, And we were doing it and we were killing it, but we weren't happy. We were stressed out of our minds. And I think there was a day I woke up and said, wow, I don't think there's been a day where we're not in survival mode or chronically stressed. And I said, that's enough. I'm done. I don't care about the career. I don't care about the title or the money. I just want to be happy. And my husband said, you're crazy. We've worked our butts off for these careers. And I said, who cares? Let's give it up. Let's go back to Texas. Let's buy some land. We both grew up on the land, so we were really passionate about it. We had these really fond memories from our childhoods, perhaps romanticized memories of working on land in our childhood. And, coming at it from an adult perspective, we're like, dang, this is hard work.
Yeah.
They call it the simple life. It is not simple.
Yeah.
It is hard work.
Wait, are you talking about like farming?
Farming and homesteading and just trying to live off the land as much as possible.
Okay.
And so we came back to Texas. We bought this property with 10 acres. We got sheep and llamas and chickens.
You had llamas?
I did. Oh my God. Their names were Couscous and Coco.
That was so
and
fun.
They were adorable. Oh my gosh.
Don't they like spit at you?
If they don't like you, they will.
Okay.
Usually
Okay.
when they're getting territorial,
Okay.
they'll kind of spit, but my boys were super sweet.
Oh, that's fun.
They were my babies. I was out there, they were giving me kisses and stuff.
Aw.
And they were so cute.
That's sweet.
Man. So we had llamas. I also had 4 sheep, because one had a baby we called Pumpkin. But one of our sheep, the ram, I kind of raised it like a dog because I really didn't know any better. It was my first time having livestock. And these sheep were gifted by my dad. And I just started. Anyway, that sheep would follow me around. He had a bell on his collar. He'd follow me around the property and just make the goofiest noises. He'd run up for kisses and hugs. And
Aww.
I remember I called the veterinarian out one time to do a check. And he said, that's not a sheep. That's a dog.
That's so funny. Our cats are like that. They're like dogs. Like we can call our cats names. And they come to us. They want to be, well, at least one of them. They want to be like upside down and pet on the belly like a dog, or like, are you
confused?
Yeah. It's okay.
That's fine. No. Yeah, so we had these animals and we thought, okay, we're going to start with animals. We're just going to ranch. And I quickly realized, and this was about the time I started developing a ton of allergies, and it came out of nowhere. I thought, well, I just moved back to Texas. Maybe my body's not used to the pollen, because anyone from Texas knows it's coated in green for like 2 months out of the year of just pollen.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe it'll take some time, but I was breaking out in hives. I was swelling up. I was turning bright red, and nothing I did helped. I could not figure it out. And so this was going on, and I reached out to a doctor, and I said, like a holistic doctor. And I said, hey, I don't know what's going on. I know I have allergies. I'd gone to an allergist. I'm allergic to the cedar tree, but this is intense. This is more than necessary. And she said, pay attention to everything you're bringing into your home. And she said, I'm serious. Read the labels of everything. And I'm like, all right, sure. Okay. Everyone gets crazy about that. But I actually started researching it and looking into these ingredients. And I said, holy crap, I'm putting formaldehyde on my skin. I'm breathing in parabens and sulfates and sulfites, I should say, for the breathing in.
Yeah.
But, all these different toxins. And it was making me really, really sick. So I cut it all out and I started making my own soap. And my family wanted to try the soap. Then they got hooked on the soap, and then their friends, then our neighbors, and it kind of grew from there.
So how long was it before you began to notice the difference once you cut those different things out of your life?
For me, it was immediately. I'd say within 2 days of using my own handmade soap, my skin inflammation went down. I stopped having hives. And I want to point out, I wasn't using the same store-bought products. I was rotating. I was trying all kinds of stuff, trying to find something that worked. And I think the biggest culprit was the synthetic fragrances. They can have pretty much anything in them. It doesn't have to be listed on the label. So you'll usually see it says fragrance or perfume, and no one has to say what's in that. And because there's not a whole lot of oversight unless you buy from specific fragrance companies that have like third-party testing, which some manufacturers do, but very few do. There can be pretty much anything in there.
Wow. Okay, so going back to this first phrase, and it's a term, you were talking about toxin, begins with an F. I can't pronounce it quite right.
I always say it wrong. Phthalates or phthalates.
Okay. So I've found that when you look into some of these products, a lot of people recognize that these are bad and that they are toxins because they find them in other products. Like for instance, lead, like,
right.
One of those things where it was recognized because they were like, oh, we use lead in the factory and we use it for this and this can't be good. Like they didn't know what it was. So do you know where some of these toxins are also used in products that we would find like in like bug spray or things like that, and it's still being used on our skin? Do you know some of those off the top of your head?
Phthalates are something you're going to find a lot in plastics. So when you're looking for like BPA-free plastics to store your leftover food in, a lot of those plastics can sometimes contain phthalates, fast food containers, styrofoam. A lot of that tends to leach certain things like phthalates into your food. And I think that was kind of in the news recently. They found like McDonald's had like a high percentage of phthalates in the food that you get. And I don't want to quote any numbers because I don't know them off the top of my head. Sure. And I don't want to speak as an expert on exactly where you're going to find what. But I promise you, if you start going down the rabbit hole on the internet and on trusted sources, don't just take a TikTok video as information, make sure it's coming from people who are like PhD researchers, people who really know how to kind of do different testing to understand the extent. And something I like to point out is just because something's natural doesn't mean it's good for you. So poison ivy's natural. I would not put that in a soap.
Yeah.
Right. So use common sense, use critical thinking when you're going down it. Don't be afraid because something has titanium dioxide in it. Titanium dioxide is a natural mineral whitener. And I know there was a huge panic on the internet a while ago on social media. People were saying, oh my gosh, TD is poisoning us. That's not necessarily true. They were referencing a study from the 70s where they put a rat in a container and pumped the air full of like micro titanium dioxide, which is really tiny micron sizes, and made him breathe it for like hours a day, every day. So of course he's going to get lung issues.
Yeah.
So you have to take it with certain critical thinking. Titanium dioxide's used in a lot of natural soaps. I use it in some of my soaps, but I use a larger particulate size. So you can't absorb it through the skin and it washes off down your drain. It's also in food. It's in a lot of milk. Any food that has a white color to it probably has titanium dioxide in it. I'd be more concerned about consuming it in food than I would about it going topically on the skin and washing off. Those are the two things. So again, when you really go down the rabbit hole, you start to realize maybe something's toxic ingested, but it's not toxic topically because you can't absorb everything subdermally or through the skin.
So if someone has some of these allergens or, are more sensitive to some of these toxicities than other people, what are some of the results that they can see in their everyday life that may, maybe get them to thinking to look into something like this, if that makes sense? Yeah.
So if you're noticing that your immune system seems weaker, almost like it's overloaded with stuff, if you're noticing skin rashes or inflammation or lots of like eczema or psoriasis flare-ups, which psoriasis is autoimmune, so a lot of things can contribute to that. But also the products you use and put on your skin can lead to worsening of your immune system response. So not everyone knows this, but the skin is actually the largest organ on the human body. So its role is to protect us from external toxins. It's like not just a physical barrier, but it also has immune functions that it executes to protect us. So when your skin is trying to regulate what can come in and what can't, and then you say, well, I'm going to throw formaldehyde on it, your skin it gets overloaded. It's getting overworked. Your whole body is trying to handle that, plus pollen in the air that you might be allergic to. And now suddenly that pollen's affecting you 10 times worse because your body's just overloaded. So if you're noticing like discomfort, swelling, rashes, then I'd start looking at the things you're bringing into your home for sure.
So me and you met at Morning Mugs, and whenever we were there, I think the third or fourth time, I think that's when you had a chance to kind of share kind of your story and things. And during that time, you also shared kind of what some of the crazy effects were on you that were really scary for you that were beginning to happen. Can you kind of talk about those a little bit?
Yeah. So I want to say about, goodness, I'm trying to think of the right date.
Yeah.
About 2021, I started, and that was after we moved to Arkansas. We moved here in 2020. I started having the craziest symptoms. I noticed that I couldn't move my fingers. I had extreme bouts of vertigo. I couldn't even go from my couch to the fridge to get water without falling over. I was dizzy. I was disoriented. I was tongue-tied. My family was thinking, these are symptoms of like dementia and Alzheimer's. I couldn't form a sentence. I couldn't think critically. When I'd go to move or grip something, I would lose the ability to grip a cup of water and drop it. I couldn't even drink the cup of water. And I had just shooting awful nerve pain. And what I ended up finding out is I initially went to a doctor at like Mercy Hospital, and they said, okay, we're worried you might have MS or multiple sclerosis because of all the nerve pain and the lack of mobility. I was very quickly losing my ability to function and move. And I'm also trying to work a data science job where you really have to be aware and thinking and lots of typing and coding. And I couldn't even type with my fingers. The pain was so bad. And I want to point out at this point, I'm 30 years old. So these aren't symptoms a typical 30-year-old has. And I went to Mercy and they said, okay, we're worried about, early onset Alzheimer's. We're worried. And they didn't say it super directly because I don't think the doctors wanted to freak me out, but they were alluding to it. They were running tests to check for it. And I'm Googling the tests and I'm saying, oh my gosh, they're trying to screen me with an MRI to see if I have, demyelination. I know I just said that word wrong. Demyelination of my nerves. And that's scary.
Yeah.
I was honestly terrified. And my husband's freaking out because he's like, nothing I do is helping. The pain's not going away. And all that to say, what happened is I was just kind of getting worse and worse. And I said, listen, Western medicine isn't helping me right now. So I'm going to reach out to a holistic doctor who uses a combination of Western and Eastern medicine. And I know a lot of folks think it's kind of hocus pocus sometimes, but I'm like, I have nowhere else to go. I'm going to try it and see if it can help. And what we ended up finding out is I had an overload of toxic mold, mycotoxins in my system. I had atypical celiac disease, which is less common than typical celiac disease, which is where you tend to get really upset stomach and you're running to the restroom if you come into contact with gluten. For me, it was attacking my central and peripheral nervous system. And so that was causing me to have what's called gluten ataxia, which is where like your cerebellum and the back of your brain swells up. And I was having issues with coordination and vertigo, mobility, speech, all those things that were really scary at 30 years old. And then we found out I had chronic Lyme disease from a tick bite I had gotten years prior. All this to say, a lot of these things had laid dormant in my system. The Lyme disease, my immune system had kept under wraps until it got overloaded with the mold and until it got overloaded with toxins I was bringing into my home without realizing it. So my healthy immune system could handle that stuff and keep it from flaring. But when my system got overloaded with all these toxins in my everyday life, my immune system said, that's it. I'm out, buddy. You're on your own. And things just started slipping through the cracks and getting worse.
That's crazy. Okay, so you made some adjustments and you started making your own soaps, and that began to help. But aside from products, did you make any like altering, life-changing decisions, or begin to make day-to-day decisions in your life that also would affect it? Like
Absolutely.
I imagine that if you're stressed, that's also not going to
Yes.
help. I imagine that if, you don't love what you're doing, you don't love your life, then that's also not going to help. So were there any adjustments or there that needed to be made as well? And what were those?
Absolutely. I think if I could give anyone advice in their life, chronic stress is not worth it. No job is worth it. No paycheck is worth it. If you are every day in a job you hate or a lifestyle you can't stand, and your very being is like crying out, please get me out of here. I don't want to be here. Leave. It's not worth it. I don't care what the situation is. I don't care what the social expectations are, who's depending on you. You have to take care of yourself before you can show up for others. And that's my biggest piece of life advice. And I was in a state of chronic stress for many, many years, from a high stress job. I went from one high stress career in DC to another. I went into MarTech and data science and working on AI and coding and data for fintech startups. And anyone who's worked in a startup environment can tell you if the product isn't good enough to bring in paying users, then you're out of a job.
Yeah.
So whatever, any day you could be laid off. So you've really got to put your all into creating this thing, which on one hand is exciting and challenging, and you really get to own the product you're creating. But on the other hand, there's always that sense that the rug's going to be pulled out from out under you any moment.
Yes.
And I think this stress combined with the dormant Lyme disease, combined with the undiagnosed celiac, combined with toxic mold, which actually I found had been growing in my shower, and I couldn't see it to the naked eye because it grew in the grout and it was the same color as the grout. And no matter how much you scrub it, it kind of comes back microscopically. So even if you don't see it microscopically, that mold can still be growing. So I had like 2 types of toxic mold. So every day I'm showering in toxic mold, not knowing it. And I do want to point out, I clean my shower. I am a clean person. Don't take that as I live in a pigsty. It is clean.
That's funny.
But it just kept coming back, and I was exposing myself to all of this, and huge lifestyle change. I ripped out my shower. I still haven't repaired it. I'd used the guest shower, which is awful. It's been years, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
I ripped it out and I changed my whole job, my whole career. I said, I know that I went to school for this. I know I've been working towards this career, but it doesn't define me. This job is not my identity. And I think that was a scary moment for me too, to say, who am I outside of this? What is my identity outside of I'm a hard worker, I have grit, I'm tenacious. Okay, great. But am I kind? Am I generous? Am I good to the people around me? Am I living experiences that when I pass away, people are going to come to my funeral and be like, oh, remember that time we did this? Or she was so great when she did that. She really showed up for us. She was loyal. She was a good person, a good mom, a good friend. And I guess I had that realization, oh my gosh, I'm so focused on my 9 to 5.
Yes.
What am I building here? Who am I?
Yes.
And that's scary to re-find yourself in your 30s and just kind of alter the whole course of your life. Every decision changed. It's no longer I'm getting up and I'm going straight to the computer to work. It's I'm getting up an hour early. I'm going to try to work out as best I can with, the muscle degradation and nerve damage I have from Lyme. But what's the best I can do? Just move. Even if it's 1 minute of movement, I'm going to move. Even if it's 5 minutes of drinking a protein shake or changing my diet. Diet's huge. Oh my gosh, I could rabbit trail. I will rabbit trail, so I don't want to go too into it. But pay attention to what you put in your body. I mean, food can be fuel or it can be poison.
Yeah.
And that sounds dramatic, but it's true. I mean, if you're eating whole foods, kind of paleo style, you're eating like good grass-fed meats, organic vegetables, your body is going to be more capable of fending off toxins and things in your everyday life. And your immune system's going to be healthier. Your mind will be healthier. You're going to live a more fulfilling life because you're able to be more present. You're not inflamed. And the biggest inflammatory foods you can eat are gluten, dairy, and sugar. So if you can minimize that, I'm not saying never have a sugary coffee. I mean, have things, enjoy your life, but within balance. And I was way out of balance.
Yeah. Okay, so you're in this place, you're 30 years old, you're living your life, and the lifestyle that you're living is not an ideal lifestyle that you want to be living. You're stressed, you're making money, and you're making good money, but you're not living the life that you want to live. and basically your body begins to let you know, hey, like, I'm going to make you make a change.
I had to.
And so you listen to that, and you had to go figure out what was going on with your body. And then really it was still your body just trying to communicate with you, hey, you have to make a change. And so you begin to make these changes, and you create products to help you change your lifestyle and get in a better place physically, which also causes you to get into a better place mentally.
Absolutely.
And that was soap that you, you were saying soap was one of the things you started with. And I guess when do some of the other products come along after that? Because there's more than just the soaps. There's more than just the,
So the soap started back in 2019 is when I started making the soap. I got really into goat milk soap because I wanted to have goats, and I'm like, I'm going to start making goat milk soap. And I started the soap back then. And at that point, I thought I just had kind of skin allergies and environmental allergies, which I did. But I think the stress was in the background and I just wasn't aware of it. In 2021, when I started my battle with true chronic illness, that's when I started realizing, wow, my immune system is so compromised now. And shifting from being healthy all your life to suddenly 80% of health is your new baseline, and that's kind of the best you might get, was challenging. It's almost like going through a grieving process to accept that your body can't do the things it used to do. But I refuse to believe I'll never be able to heal or get better. I just refuse to speak that over myself. I'm going to keep pushing through. I can lay in bed and be miserable all day, or I can get up and live my life.
Yes.
I'm going to get up and live my life.
Yes.
And with that, I started paying attention to, okay, I love candles. I love fragrances in my home, but they give me headaches. They make me ill. My immune system freaks out. Every time I burn like a Yankee candle, I'd feel ill. And I started looking again at the synthetic fragrances, the petroleum-based paraffin wax. And I said, okay, there has to be a cleaner way to do this. Well, what about beeswax? I mean, we've used beeswax for centuries, and it's the longest and cleanest burning wax. Our beeswax candles burn 45 hours or more.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's soothing. It puts out like a really warm light, and it's clean burning, and it purifies the air.
Do you know on average, because when you said 45 hours, then my mind began to think, well, how long do like normal candles typically burn for?
I think it depends on the size, it depends on the wax, and it depends on what they put in it for the smell, either essential oils or fragrance. But my candles, I mean, you'll burn them for days, and I love that about it. And I also love that beeswax releases negative ions. Okay. So kind of like when you get an ionizer on an air filter, what they do is they attach to particulates in the air and cause it to fall to the ground. Yes. So it ends up cleaning the air. And beeswax does that naturally. Other things in nature that do that are like waterfalls. If you go to the ocean and you're standing on the beach, there's a lot of negative ions in the air. And I love that kind of comes back to trying to make our products harmoniously with nature. We get to pull that piece of nature into your home and clean up the air and just feel better. Then I started looking at my laundry powder.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't even pronounce half the things in Tide. What is this? Why do I need a blue synthetic dye in my laundry softener? Why do I need a softener? When I started to realize that store-bought softeners for your clothing is actually just the feeling of chemicals coating your clothes, and that's what makes them soft, that soft feeling, I started to say, okay, why am I just surrounding and dousing myself unknowingly in chemicals 24/7?
Yes.
And so I started making natural laundry powder, and that was a big changer. I'll be honest, it was weird in the beginning because I'm used to associating the clean smell with the fragrant smell of Downy and Tide.
Yes.
I'm not used to what real clean smells like. And it smells like when your grandma would hang your clothes on a clothesline to dry.
Oh,
It smells kind of just outside, like fresh air. It doesn't have like an overpowering scent. At first I kept thinking, am I really getting my clothes clean? I didn't even know what clean was. And now I can't go back.
So my wife, she actually looked into making her own laundry detergent at home.
Yeah.
But she looked at it from a cost perspective.
Yes.
And she was looking and saying, based off of what I've seen, that like how affordable you can make laundry detergent at home.
Yeah.
All the other laundry detergent that you buy from the store is just overpriced dramatically.
My gosh, like 20 times markups. It's crazy.
She was like, I could buy this these ingredients one time, and this will last, I think she said, for the whole year.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like, I think she spent like maybe like $15 to $25 on products, and it's a powder ingredients, but
Sure.
she makes it, and now we're good for the next year.
Oh, I swear by it. If you want to do anything at home or make your own anything, laundry powder is super easy to make, and it's quick, easy way to detox yourself, because now you're not wearing something with chemicals on your skin all day.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. And
Yeah.
I'm proud of her for looking at it. I'm like that with prices, though. My husband's like, you're so stingy. And I'm like, no, I'm practical.
Yeah.
Why are we spending 20 times this for that when we can make it ourselves?
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so you have soap, candle, laundry detergent. Anything else?
I also do natural shampoo and conditioner bars. So shampoos and conditioners, again, when you start reading those labels at the store, and a lot of things are greenwashed now, and that makes it really confusing for consumers. The average person doesn't know what, these chemicals are. You just don't know, because you're out living your life. You're not out researching.
What does greenwash mean?
Greenwash is like when you go to the store and the branding on the package makes it look super eco-friendly and natural. Mm-hmm. And actually, when you turn it around and read the ingredients, it's not as natural as they're claiming. And so it's kind of like pulling the wool over the consumer's eyes and saying, well, we put it in a craft paper box. So you, as a consumer, assume that's a more natural product. But that doesn't necessarily mean it is. A big thing to look for are words like plant-based. Look at it. Sometimes they can be good. Sometimes plant-based could mean, well, it started with an organic compound 20 years ago. Then we, took the chemical and we stripped it apart and added some things. And that's when it gets, none of those words are really regulated. Natural's not regulated. Natural means something different to everyone. So really just try to educate yourself as much as you can. And if you don't want to do the work to educate yourself because you're busy, then check out my Healing Moon Mondays videos. I do a short video every Monday in a minute or less. And I start trying to help educate everyone on these things, because it really shouldn't be on the consumer to have to know all this.
Yes. It sounds like a lot. Like,
it is.
I'm already thinking, like, if I go in a store and I look at the back, well, I'm not going to understand any of those words. But what I can do, or what I would do, I would just take a picture and upload it to ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And like, hey, tell me about these chemicals that are in this product. Are they good or are they bad?
Right.
And kind of go off of that.
Right.
And that's free, like, and quick.
Quick and easy. Yeah.
That's really cool. So for people who maybe don't have any life-changing things going on in their life, health-wise or really even mental-wise, then why would you say that they would consider a product like this?
Well, I read a quote a while ago, and it's crazy to think about, but individuals with disabilities is the one marginalized group that you can become a part of at any moment. And I say this not to scare people. I'm not saying if you use these, you're going to get sick. That's not necessarily true. Everyone's body's different. Everyone's at a different place in their life. So I'm not here to be a doctor. I'm not a doctor. I'm not here to say that. But I will say that when you expose yourself to something for extended periods of time, you're increasing the risk and likelihood that something could develop. So I'm not here to fearmonger or make anyone scared, but I am here to say, just pay attention and try to live as balanced of a life as you can within your means. If you can, maybe you really love Tide and you're like, no, I'm a Tide person through and through. Okay, keep the Tide, but maybe minimize the number of Yankee candles you burn in your house, or try to find a balance where you're enjoying and living your life and enjoying the products you have in there while still trying to be mindful of what you're using. I will say another thing to pay attention to is just from an eco perspective. A lot of these products you get at the store come in these thick plastic bottles, and they just fill landfills. They end up in the ocean. We've all seen the turtle with the with the can thing around its neck, and you can buy into that. Or you can potentially choose a product at a similar price point even. You'd be amazed. Some natural products are cheaper than you'd think because they're found in nature. The ingredients are easy to come by. You could switch that and have biodegradable packaging. So all of our packaging at Healing Moon Farm is compostable at home or at the commercial landfill. And all of our labels are made with sugarcane byproduct. The adhesive is sugarcane byproduct. The only thing we have that's not compostable and 100% biodegradable would be our glass candle jars, but they're totally recyclable and recyclable. And reusable.
Yeah.
So you can actually put it in a double boiler to get that last bit of beeswax out. And then you can make a really cute jar to store like Q-tips or cotton balls or whatever you want to do with it.
So you talked about it a little bit, but can we go back to it a little bit and talk about kind of your business journey? So when you created the first products, you sold them to who? And then you went to the farmer's market when? And then where did you go from there? And where are you going next?
Yeah. So in 2019, when I started making goat milk soap in our farmhouse kitchen, my family got really excited about it. Then my neighbors saw I was doing it and they asked to try some. And funny story, the person we purchased the home from ended up emailing me and saying, hey, I saw that you started this homestead and you're making soap. Would you come to the local school's PTA fair that I'm putting on? And I thought, okay, it's a PTA fair at an elementary school. I've never sold my products. I've never tried this. I've always done, service-based businesses in the past as an entrepreneur. I've never done product-based. This is a whole new market to me. And I was wrapping these in saran wrap. I didn't have packaging. I didn't have anything. And all I knew was this soap is awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm going to wrap it in saran wrap and just talk to people. We ended up selling out at an elementary school PTA fair. And afterwards, I kept getting emails from moms saying, hey, this cleared up my son's rash, or hey, my skin feels so much better. Can you please make me more? And I thought, okay, we might be onto something here. Maybe there's a market for this. Not everyone has time to wait 6 weeks for their soap to cure.
Yeah.
Maybe I can make this for people and help them find a healthier alternative and keep it affordable. That's a big part of our business model, is we want to keep it as affordable and accessible for people as possible. So I started making these soaps. They got popular. And then we ended up moving to Arkansas in 2020. And when we got here, I saw the Fort Smith Farmers Market and I thought, man, I really want to go out there and sell my soap and see if anyone likes it. And it just started taking off. And we started bringing the laundry powder, the beeswax candles, the shampoo bars. Everything we sell, I originally made for myself. And then I liked it. My family liked it.
Yeah.
And I started selling it.
That's the best way to create products, honestly. Like coming from a perspective of, well, what do I need? What do I like? What do I enjoy? Because you know that there are plenty enough people out there who are also like you.
Right.
And so you at least know that you're going to get that audience. But then once you actually start putting the product out there and getting some feedback, you can customize and make different options for different people who may be enjoying it.
Yeah. And the great thing about handmade soap, too, is it's kind of like art. Everyone does it a little different. There are tons of handmade soap makers out here doing awesome things. And each one's going to be different. You're never going to get two handmade soap that are exactly the same. So if you have different skin sensitivities or allergies or needs, then you can pretty much find it in handmade soap.
Wow. Okay, so you go from selling out at a school to farmers market in Fort Smith, and then where do you go from there? Are you still there? That's kind of like your realm now. And where are you going from where you are now?
So we've had an online store since 2019, and we still have our online store, and we ship anywhere in the world, all the way to Australia, actually. Wow. We've sent some stuff to Australia. And we also do the farmers market, and now we're about to open our first ever store at the barracks at Chaffee. So we're going to be neighbors.
Yeah, I know. I'm so excited. I love this place out here since I've been out here. And I remember when I first came and got interested in this space, Katie and Gabe, Fort Smith Coffee Co., I knew they were coming. And then I found out you were coming. And I think there was another connection point. Oh, Shannon was already here at Home Salon. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a cool place. Then the Connex bar popped up, opened. I was like, okay, I need to get in early if I can.
Yes.
Because once this gets developed out here, it's really going to be it's going to be a mecca, of Arkansas. People are going to come over from everywhere.
Yeah, so. I think there's a lot of potential out here, and I love that we're building a little community of just entrepreneurs, small business owners, handmade products. I know Blessed Bee Bakery is going to make also some gluten-free options. So any celiacs like me, hit them up because they have some stuff safe for us. It's just really cool. And I love that everyone's just so friendly and open, and we very much have that community vibe here. It's still small town enough that there's that local community vibe, but big town enough we have access to the things we need.
Yes. And you also have been out here at the artisan market, right?
Yes, yeah, we do the Chaffee Crossing Farmers and Artisans Market as well.
Which is like, for people who don't know, like buku's bigger than
huge.
the Fort Smith, not Fort Smith Coffee Co. Than the Fort Smith Farmers Market. I mean, this out here is not really called a farmers market. I think originally it was called a farmers market, and they realized that, to call it a farmers market isn't accurate because there are people selling all types of things,
right?
Other than like corn and cabbage,
right?
So it's artisan market. But how many people would you say have been here in the past years?
Well, I'd say that they either have between 100 to 200. I think they had 220 vendors one year. Wow. And as far as people who come, thousands, I'd say.
How have you done setting up your booth at the farmers market?
Pretty well. What I like about setting up at Chaffee Crossing is we reach a different audience. So at the Fort Smith Farmers Market, we tend to have a lot of repeat customers with a handful of new customers. It's a smaller market and it's in the middle of a parking lot in a concrete jungle, so not a whole lot of people get that like natural handmade vibe.
Yes.
But there are great products there. It's easy to miss it. At Chaffee Crossing, the way it's set up, I feel like it feels a bit more like a community market. Like you're kind of in the middle of your suburb and you're walking through a community market. It has a different vibe. And we've done great. We've met a lot of new people. I geeked out last market with someone who was really into environmentalism and just biodegradable packaging. And I talked for like an hour. That poor woman was probably like, okay, I didn't sign up for this. I just wanted to buy some soap. But
that's funny.
It's been great.
So what are you excited about as far as this is your first brick and mortar?
It's our first brick and mortar. I am equal parts excited and nervous.
Okay. Yeah. What are you excited about? And then what are you nervous about then?
So I'm excited that I'm going to create a bunch of experiences. So we won't just be a retail store. It's about experiences. I'm going to have windows where you can watch me make the products. So you can truly see from start to finish the beeswax melt down and become a candle, the coconut oil melt down and become a soap, and just really see how much love goes into these products and time too. It takes a lot of time to make these. People don't realize I don't have big machines. I'm there holding the wax, pouring it, and mixing everything, and I love it. It's kind of I get to be in my element.
Yes,
and I think having the brick and mortar invites people to experience that with me. It invites them to ask me questions and explore and maybe learn some new things about different ingredients that could help them out. And that part I'm extremely excited about. Yeah. Plus, I can't wait to decorate. I'm really excited to decorate.
Are you going to do any workshops?
I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
I was thinking about doing, it sounds kind of silly, but you know how at wineries you can do a tasting?
Yes.
How about a smelling? Where I do essential oil blends, and then maybe people can come in, we can have wine, smell some essential oil blends, and then people can take notes, and then whichever one people vote they like the most, I'll put in a soap the next month.
It would be cool if so let's say, for instance, I know it may be a little bit more difficult for people to make your products the way that you make them, but if you did like a cheap, easy DIY version that someone could do at home, it'd be super cool to do a workshop. Like if you did a workshop of, hey, like this is how you make laundry detergent.
Yes.
That is super cheap, super easy. You don't need to buy any of the machinery that I have to do at home.
Right.
But if you do want to just skip that whole process that I just showed you, then you can just buy it right now. Like that would be cool.
Yeah, made with the same great ingredients, natural, and you can just buy it if you don't have time to make it. I love the idea of the laundry powder. That's a great idea. Yeah. I didn't think about that. The hard part with soap is it has to cure for 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's kind of when you do that paint your own pottery class and then you have to wait a few weeks to go back and pick it up. But with soap, you're talking 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah. I was worried people might lose interest. But the laundry powder is a great idea.
And what are you nervous about?
I am nervous about, it's a new area. It's a new development. I love it out here. I'm nervous because I've never had a brick and mortar. Are people going to show up, or are they going to vibe with me and what I'm doing and with the products? Are they going to be as excited about geeking out about biodegradable packaging and natural products as I am. And there's a lot of unknowns, but I also feel like you never know till you try.
Yeah.
So that's the excitement is the challenge and something new, but the nervousness is I don't necessarily want to fail, but I also know as an entrepreneur, failure isn't really failure because you always learn something.
Yes.
So I don't know, just trying to balance all that.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously you don't know everything, but if you pick a date, like a date and a time of when you hope to open up the doors to the public, and it could change, but what's that date?
I'm hoping before the end of this year.
Okay.
Everything's still under construction, and Lloyd is heading the barracks at Chaffee Development. He is working his butt off with Kim and everyone else, Lance. They're all just working really hard to get it open. But there have been challenges. You know, these are old buildings. It's historic buildings, and that's what I love about it. All the history here is fabulous.
Elvis got his haircut like literally right over there.
Yeah, Elvis got his haircut up there. And did you know that they housed Vietnamese refugees here at the barracks?
Oh, that's really cool.
And that's part of why we have a large population here.
I did, because what's super cool is as they begin to break down the walls in these old barracks, they begin to find letters.
Yes.
They found a bag of letters that they think got stolen and never got mailed.
Oh, wow.
And so they've been collecting them as they found them spread it throughout the barracks. I think basically what the situation was is they are thinking that someone stole the bag and looked through it for money. But that being said, there's tons of letters. So it's been really cool to see some of those letters. But yes, I saw that some of them were written in different languages.
Yeah.
So
that's cool. I love the history here. I love the military history too. Brady, if he was here, he would talk your ear off. He's a huge military history buff. But I mean, we come from a family of military members. We do military discounts on our products. We're really proud of just this country and the hard work everyone's put into building it to be what it is. And I think it's cool to take a historic piece of America, a historic piece of our military history, and make it open to the public and turn it into something new, bring it up to date with the times.
100%. Well, I'm excited for when you guys do come out here.
Me too.
And again, thank you so much for coming on. Do you have anything that you would like to tell people who maybe want to get involved with some of the things that you're doing or purchase some of the products, or really anything exciting that you even want to announce coming up? Anything at all?
Yeah. So if you want to learn more about our products, please always come by the farmer's market. I will chat your ear off. I would love to talk to you about it. Let's all learn together and kind of learn about different ingredients together. I mean, I think that's fabulous. And as far as new exciting stuff coming up, I am working on a line of limited edition soaps. And those are going to be handmade with imported kind of luxury ingredients. So I have one right now I just made with tobacco absolute and organic baobab oil, which is supposed to be really moisturizing. And those are those really cool looking trees that you see in Madagascar.
Wow.
And I'm really excited. It's made from the seed of the tree, so it's sustainable. And all of our essential oils we don't use endangered plants. So rest easy. I'm really big into researching that, but we have some really exciting stuff coming up. And if you are ever curious or want to get involved, just reach out.
And you may have said it, but did you say what your website is?
Our website's healingmoonfarm.com.
Cool. And for those who are interested in coming and checking you out at, the artisan market that's out at the barracks, they do that every third weekend of the month. And find her there. I'll be here. I'll be doing something with the podcast studio for people.
Yeah.
And again, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, thanks for having me.